You know, usually when we sit down to do one of these deep dives, we are holding a stack of papers that feels pretty heavy.
Yeah, groundbreaking research, a massive investigative article, something like that.
Or maybe a controversial manifesto. But today,
Yeah.
today I'm looking at a source that, on the surface, feels incredibly small.
Small's an understatement. We are looking at a single blog post about a guy seeing some fish in a public pond.
Right. To be specific, the source is titled Notes on Fishkeeping Part 187, The Nostalgic Encounter of Juvenile Fish at the Public Pond. It was published on February 4th, 2026. And looking at that title, the first thing that hits you isn't the fish, it's the number in the parentheses.
Part 187.
Who writes 187 updates about fish keeping.
Someone who is playing a completely different game than the rest of us. And that is exactly why we are here.
Yeah.
We aren't really here to teach you how to identify a freshwater fish, although that is the catalyst. We are diving into this source because the author, who goes by Ang, offers us a masterclass in what I call the discipline of noticing.
Ang describes himself as an old software plumber. And once you start digging into the source material, not just the text of this post, but the sidebar, the archives, the sheer metadata of this blog, you realize we're looking at a very specific, very rigorous way of existing in the world.
And that's the mission for this deep dive. We want to decode that mindset.
Okay.
We want to understand how a software plumber applies the logic of coding, debugging, and documentation to the organic, messy world of nature. It's about what happens when technical discipline collides with human nostalgia.
So let's start where Ang starts. The encounter, it's February 2026. The setting is a public garden.
Right.
He says he's there on a photo walk, specifically to study the landscaping and layout.
Which is already a distinct mode of being, isn't it? He isn't just walking to get his steps in or listening to a podcast to zone out.
No.
He's analyzing structure. He's looking at the system of the garden. He's in input mode.
Yeah.
But then the system gets interrupted.
He spots something in the water, a school of juvenile fish swimming near the surface. And here is where the observation starts to get granular. He doesn't just say, I saw fish.
No, he goes deeper.
He comments on their state of mind, if fish can have a state of mind. He says they were seemingly unafraid and completely oblivious to human presence.
That detail is the hook.
Why?
If you know anything about wild fish, or really any small prey animal, you know that survival usually depends on paranoia. A shadow hits the water and they scatter. It's a reflex.
Okay.
So observing that they are oblivious creates a data discrepancy. It's a bug in the expected behavior of the wild fish program.
And because it's a bug, he has to investigate. He switches from landscaping observer to biological troubleshooter.
Yeah.
We get to see his internal monologue as he tries to identify them. His first guess, his working hypothesis, is that they are Haruan.
Right. And for those who aren't up on Southeast Asian ichthyology, Haruan is the local name for the snakehead fish. They are predatory, they are resilient, and they are very common in that region. It's a logical default assumption. It's the hello world of fish in that area.
But he doesn't just settle on the assumption, he tries to validate it. And this is the part I loved. He doesn't pull out his phone to Google it.
No, he looks inward.
He references his own internal database. He calls it a nostalgic encounter.
And nostalgia usually feels fuzzy, right? We think of it as an emotion, a warm glow.
Sure.
But for Ang, nostalgia is a data set. He queries his childhood memories. He recalls specifically that Haruan fry, the babies, are bright red. He says it was a common sight during my childhood.
So he runs the comparison test. Input data from the pond, gray or brownish fish. Reference data from memory.
Is bright red.
The result.
False. Mismatch. The hypothesis fails.
It's a failed validation check. And honestly, most people at this point would just shrug and say weird fish and keep walking.
Of course.
But he admits the failure. He writes that because of this color discrepancy, he can't confirm the ID. He leaves the ticket open, so to speak.
It's intellectual honesty. A lot of us have this urge to categorize things quickly so we can move on. We want to close the tab in our brain.
Yeah, oh, it's a snakehead, whatever.
Exactly. He resists that. If the data doesn't fit, he holds the uncertainty. He documents the doubt.
This leads to a moment of genuine frustration for him, though. He's staring at this mystery, and he blames his hardware. He writes, "This is the time that you wish you have a DSLR with telephoto lens." He wanted a close-up to solve the puzzle.
The missing tool dilemma. It's so relatable to anyone who works in a technical field.
It really is.
You know the answer is there, but you lack the resolution to see it. In software, it's like trying to debug a crash without a log file. You know something broke, but you can't see the specific line of code.
He's viewing the natural world through that lens of capture and resolution. He couldn't zoom in, so the data remains low res.
But notice what he calls it. Despite the frustration, despite the failed ID, he calls it a delightful discovery.
Why delightful? He didn't solve it.
Because the anomaly itself is interesting. The fact that the fish were fearless, the fact that they didn't match his memory, that is a valid data point.
Right.
He was there to look at landscaping, the structure, and nature threw him a curveball. He appreciates the curveball even if he can't explain it.
I want to pivot to the person behind the keyboard here.
Yeah.
We keep calling him a software plumber, which is his own term. But when you look at the sidebar of this blog, calling him a blogger feels like an insult.
It does. It's a massive archive.
It's not a blog, it's a repository.
Exactly.
Let's look at the numbers provided in the source. We mentioned notes on fish keeping is at part 187, but I scroll down. Notes on gardening.
I saw this. It's immense.
Part 797.
797.
Nearly 800 detailed notes on gardening. Notes on photography is at part 228. And then you get into the hard text stuff. Notes on Elixir, Erlang, Haskell, Rust, Go, Python.
It's a syllabus, and a rigorous one.
But it's mixed in with notes on dieting, notes on meditation, notes on guitar, and home improvement. It's this wild mix of the digital and the domestic.
It's a polymath's journal, but a specific kind of polymath. Usually when people have this many interests, they are dabblers.
Yeah, a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
They do a little bit of guitar, a little bit of coding, and they master none of it. But the part 187 or part 797 tells you he isn't dabbling, he is grinding.
It implies a continuity that is, frankly, exhausting to think about. I looked at the archive dates in the source. This person posts daily. And I don't mean most days.
No, not most days.
I mean every single day.
Let's look at the stats from the source.
Okay, January 2026, 93 posts. That is 3 posts a day.
3 a day.
The year 2025, 730 posts. That is exactly 2 posts a day, 365 days in a row.
Okay, hold on. That stops being a hobby and starts being a cron job.
Explain cron job for the non-technical listeners.
Okay, so in Unix-based computer operating systems, a cron job is a command that's scheduled to run at specific intervals. Every hour, every day, every midnight. It's automatic. It's relentless.
Yeah.
Aang has turned his blogging into a cron job. He has automated the output of his life.
But this tells us everything we need to know about Aang. He mentions in his bio that he tinkers with FOSS Free Libre and open source software.
Right.
He supports the Free Software Foundation. In that culture, if it isn't documented, it doesn't exist.
Commit or die.
Essentially.
No.
In the open source world, transparency is the currency. You share your code, you share your changes, you share your bugs. He has taken that professional ethics, that requirement to document the system, and he has applied it to his entire existence.
And that is a crucial connection. FOSS Free Libre open source software isn't just about software being free of charge. It's about freedom. The freedom to study, change, and distribute.
I see.
By publishing these notes on gardening, on fish, on code publicly, on the interweb as he calls it, he is open sourcing his life.
He does call it the interweb. I loved that. A bit of old school charm.
He's contributing to the commons. He isn't keeping his gardening tips secret. He isn't hiding his Haskell struggles or his confusion about the fish. He's saying, here is my source code, here is how I live, fork it if you want.
So the fish in the pond, that's just a ticket in the system.
It's a commit. Found bug in pond. Fish behavior unexpected, ID inconclusive, logging for future reference. Click, post.
It flattens the hierarchy of information in a really interesting way. To him, notes on Haskell programming, part 49, is sitting right next to notes on fish keeping, part 187.
Yes.
The complex functional programming language is treated with the exact same weight as the baby fish.
And I challenge you, the listener, to think about how rare that is. Most of us compartmentalize.
Definitely.
We have work mode, where we are organized, we take notes, we track deadlines, and then we have life mode, where we are messy, we forget things, we float through. Aang has dissolved that boundary.
The rigorous analysis he uses for Haskell, he uses it for his garden.
Which explains why he's up to part 797 on gardening. He's essentially running an agile development cycle on his plants.
He is. Sprint 797, red trap installation, review results. It's the scientific method applied to the backyard.
And think about the crossover here. Haskell, which he writes about extensively, is a functional programming language. It's known for being very pure, very mathematical, very strict. It requires a lot of discipline to write well.
And he brings that discipline to notes on dieting or notes on meditation.
Exactly. The ecosystem of his interests feeds itself. The patience required to debug a complex Haskell error is the same patience required to wait for a fish to surface or to wait for a plant to grow.
Yeah.
It's all the same brain muscle.
I want to go back to the nostalgia element. We talked about how he used his memory as a database to check the fish ID, but the title of the post is The Nostalgic Encounter. It seems like for him, the past isn't something to just dwell on, it's a tool.
It's a legacy database. Think about it. He's an old software plumber. He deals with legacy code all the time, old systems that are still running in the background. His childhood memories of catching Haruan fish, that's his legacy code.
So when he sees the new fish, he's running a query. Select star from childhood where species equals Haruan.
And the return value comes back. Color, bright red.
Yeah.
But the live feed from his eyes says color, gray.
And that mismatch causes the bug. But here's what I find fascinating. He doesn't just treat it as data, he feels it. He calls it a delightful discovery.
Yes, there's emotion.
He wishes he could capture it. There is emotion there, but it's channeled through this rigid framework of logging.
That is the so what for me. You can be disciplined without being a robot. The discipline actually enhances the experience.
How so?
Because he is so trained in noticing details, thanks to his photography, thanks to his coding, he sees things the rest of us miss.
He notices the fish are oblivious. A casual observer just sees fish.
Noticing is a muscle. You don't just wake up one day and decide to be a keen observer of nature. You train yourself.
Yeah.
You train yourself by writing part 1, then part 2, then part 187.
So the volume of the blog, the 730 posts a year, that's the gym.
That's the workout. Every time he forces himself to sit down and write a post, whether it's about a complex Elixir function or a simple walk in the park, he is sharpening his ability to synthesize the world. He forces himself to output something.
It reminds me of the concept of packet loss.
Oh, that's a great analogy for this.
In data transmission, if you drop packets, the message gets garbled. Most of us in our daily lives have massive packet loss.
We do.
We see a cool bird, or we have a funny interaction, and 5 minutes later it's gone, deleted from the cache.
We have high packet loss. We are lossy compression algorithms. Ang has near zero packet loss. He captures the signal, he writes it down, he timestamps it. Did you see the timestamp?
24/20/26 03:00000000 p.m.
The precision. 0 seconds. He is locking that moment into the timeline. He is ensuring that the memory of those fish does not degrade.
And think about the long tail value of this. Right now, it's just a post about unidentified fish. But 5 years from now? 10 years from now.
That's the beauty of the archive. Maybe in 2030, he sees the same fish again. He can search his own external brain, find part 187, and say, I saw these back in 26.
He is building a searchable index of his own life. It makes me look at my own inconsistent journaling habits and feel a little bad, I have to be honest.
It is intimidating. It's intense.
Okay.
And look, let's be real. For most people, writing 730 blog posts a year is not feasible.
No.
It might not even be healthy for everyone. It's a very specific personality type.
It's true. But we don't have to go full software plumber to learn from the mindset.
No, you don't need to run a cron job on your diary. But the lesson is about the tool. Ang regretted not having his DSLR right. He felt he missed the capture because he didn't have the big lens.
But he was wrong.
He was wrong. He did capture it. The tool was the log.
Writing it down was the capture.
Precisely. Even if the data was imperfect, even if he couldn't identify the species, the act of describing the blurry shape matters. It keeps you connected to reality. It stops you from sleepwalking through your day.
It validates the experience. I saw this. It existed.
And over time, those blurry shapes form a pattern. If you log enough of them, you start to see the layout of your own life, just like he was looking for the layout of the garden.
And you might discover that your legacy database, your memories, aren't as accurate as you thought, or you might find new bugs in your routine.
But you can't debug your life if you don't have the logs.
That is a powerful thought.
You can't debug code you haven't written, and you can't understand a life you haven't documented.
It changes the way you view the mundane. A walk to the pond isn't just a walk. It's an opportunity for part 188.
Or maybe part 188 is already up. I wouldn't be surprised.
I want to touch on one last thing before we wrap up. The sheer breadth of the notes. We listed them earlier. AI, research papers, guitar. It paints a picture of someone who is never done learning.
That's the student mindset. Even though he calls himself an old software plumber, he's constantly feeding the machine new information. Research papers to read is a category. He's assigning himself homework.
And Elixir Library for reading. He's reading code like literature.
It's an ecosystem. The output, the writing, depends on the input, the reading, and the observing. If he stopped looking at the world, the blog would die.
Right.
If he stopped reading papers, the blog would die. The discipline compels him to keep seeking new inputs.
So the fish weren't just a random event. They were necessary fuel for the machine.
Exactly. The machine needs data. The pond provided it.
Well, this has certainly made me rethink my walk to the studio today. I saw a pigeon and I just ignored it. Maybe I should have logged its behavior.
Was it oblivious to your presence?
No, it flew away immediately, working as intended. No bugs in the pigeon software.
Good to know.
So, here's a final thought for you to chew on as you go about your day. We've marveled at Aang's archive logging nearly 800 notes on gardening, hundreds on photography, thousands of daily commits. It seems almost superhuman, or maybe just obsessive. But flip the mirror.
Right.
If you treated your daily observations with that same rigor, if you had to log notes on your commute, part 400, or notes on your breakfast, part 1200, or notes on interactions with your dog, and you did it every single day like a software plumber committing code, what patterns would you discover about your own existence that you are currently completely missing?
That is the question. What data are you dropping every single day?
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you on the next one.